Hey everybody, welcome to the Git Bit Podcast. The Blurred Podcast is for blurs and nerds as we try to cover everything in the world of pop culture, including sci-fi, anime, video games, things of that nature. I'm host most Will Buchanan, and we're going to go get started into it, guys, because let us be honest, after this week, we need some distractions. I'm not even going to go into it. We already know about it. We've already talked about it. So now we need to do some distractions, because right now the world could use a slight distraction right now. So, like I said, just a little bit of news for this Sunday evening. I do thank everybody for watching. As I said before, Git Bit Podcast is definitely family friendly, so we do try to curb our language. But some things we might show might be a little intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. But anyway, let's get into it. So, there are a couple of new shows that'll be appearing very soon. One, I'm kind of interested in both of them, really. And I want to start with this one because, of course, with Supernatural wrapped up, for all those who are, they wrapped up their final season and everybody started going their separate ways. But Jared Padalecki is taking on a new show on the CW, doing a reboot of Walker, Texas Ranger. And here's a trailer for it.
Texas Rangers are supposed to be the ones that weed out the bad seeds. Now, how do you think we've been doing? Do better.
See, that's his formal way of calling me an idiot.
I have a certain way of doing things.
Here he comes to save the day.
It's good to see you too. I'm trying to fix things. I got a second chance.
Walker, series premiere Thursday, January 21st. Stream free next day, only on the CW app.
Now, as you can see, Jared Padalecki is taking on the role of Walker. For everybody that doesn't remember, or you were just too young or never been around your grandparents' house, Walker, Texas Ranger was a show initially starring Chuck Norris, who was basically a Texas Ranger who followed his own set of rules, so to speak. It did have a very lengthy run on CBS. I think it went almost 6 to 8 seasons of Walker, I believe. And CW has now picked up the rights to it and will be doing a reboot of it, which they're taking a different route about Walker, saying, given the chance he's trying to kind of go on a redemption story, if you will. Not a lot really about that aside from what's already been reported. I know some friends of mine have already sat there and said they can't really do it just because I can understand it. If you're paying homage to the Chuck Norris, which, again, I get that, and the fact that it was entertaining in its own right, but I'm going to be honest, I would want to give it a shot. I mean, it's CW. CW usually does the teenage vampire stuff. They ran with it for a couple of years, actually. So I'm willing to give this a shot. And once it actually comes out, the series premiere is actually Thursday, January 21st. So I will actually give it a watch, and we'll go from there as far as giving our reviews of how it goes. And like I said, I always try to give everything 3 episodes. I really try to give everything 3 episodes because, again, they deserve that. I mean, I did the same thing with The Mandalorian, but I already knew that was going to be good. And at the same time, there's also other, like I said, it's been very rare. Like, I'll even tell this, just going completely off topic. Mass Effect Andromeda. When I first saw it, I was, being a Mass Effect fan, I loved it because I love Mass Effect. I love the entire trilogy of the Shepard story. So now, when Andromeda first came out, like I said before, it was not as welcomed as the other Mass Effect games are. But I'm starting to work on a segment on Git Bit called, second chances. Like, I want to give these games that, some games that were, maybe not favorited at first, but really go back and actually give it a fair shake. Play it from beginning to end and see how it really is. And Mass Effect Andromeda is going to be one of those games. Like I said, I'm currently playing it right now. And we'll be giving my review of it once it finishes because, like I said, I know some games when they do come out, like I said, we've seen the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. I'll have a little bit of news about that as well. But even when Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and for consoles, it just wasn't stable for consoles. But if you have a PC, it worked great. Now, of course, we all know PC Master Race. Yes, we know you rather play on a PC. We know. We get it. Some of us prefer playing on consoles. I like to do both. But again, I actually have some information on Cyberpunk 2077 very soon. There's another show that's going to be coming on CBS, which I did not see this coming since we're in the world of reboots. Queen Latifah, for everybody that doesn't know who she is, very accomplished hip-hop artist, very accomplished actress, singer in her own right, is actually coming back on CBS with a reboot called The Equalizer, and it's exactly what you think it is.
Out of nowhere, you quit your job last month. You want to talk about it?
It's complicated.
Whoever told you that life would be easy, I promise that person was lying to you.
This new side gig of yours is raising questions the CIA don't want asked.
I don't work for them anymore.
What are you? Some kind of ex-cop?
I'm the one you call when you can't call 911.
And I'm going to be honest, that was basically Queen Latifah's reboot of The Equalizer. Again, for all those that were born before the 80s and before the movies that starred Denzel Washington, yes, there was initially a series called An Equalizer during its run in the late 70s, early 80s. Now, I'm curious about this because, one, it's Queen Latifah. I will always watch whatever she's in. And two, the fact that they're rebooting The Equalizer, which again, I'm just curious to see where they go with it, as far as giving her an actual story, and still sticking with the name of Robin McCall, which is actually a play on words from Robert McCall, who is actually the protagonist in the actual story itself. So I'm just curious to see how it goes. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. It actually starts February 7th, so after the Super Bowl, which again, I'm kind of sad. My Titans didn't do well, but we did better. I'll be honest with the Titans. We did better this season than I thought we actually could, and honestly, I'm not complaining about it. I just need Alabama to show up and show out. You hear me, Alabama? I need you to show up and show out. Roll Tide. Aside from that, guys, like I said, we only have a little bit of news, so we're just going to keep it pushing. But I'm definitely looking forward to Walker and the Equalizer reboots, just see what they progressively do. Of course, one being on CBS and one being on CW. Like I said, we'll give it both their 3-episode reviews and go from there. Aside from that, some other news about other shows that apparently were scrapped. CW has decided that Green Arrow and the Canaries spinoff is not happening. And I, for one, am not sad about this. Keep in mind, guys, Green Arrow and the Canaries was initially considered a spinoff during the Crisis, of course, with Mila Queen and Dinah Drake and Laurel Lance coming back to defend Star City 20 years into the future. When the whole last season of Arrow just didn't make any freaking sense at all. That part. So again, I'm not sad about this because again, I thought the last season of Arrow was poorly written. I can see why Stephen Amell just didn't really want to talk about it. Again, this is what just doesn't work. Now, don't get me wrong. Arrow, for the longest time, had great story writing. The story carried it throughout the entire season. And of course, Stephen Amell as Oliver Queen was great. I had no issue with that. It was just the fact of the direction that it went after season 3. You could tell at that point it was kind of on life support, really. But again, this is actually a decision by the CW as far as shutting down Green Arrow and the Canaries because Supergirl will be ending after season 6. And I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and say this. Honestly, Supergirl making to season 6 is a wonder in itself. I am sorry. It wasn't appealing. It wasn't captivating. It was a money pit for CBS, and you can tell it's a money pit for CW. They just couldn't make it work. That is just my opinion. You can tell me how you feel in the comment section, but for me, I just couldn't get behind Supergirl. In the same sense, I couldn't get behind Stargirl. I think Stargirl won't make it past, season 2, honestly. I'm surprised they actually completed season 1. But season 2 with Stargirl, I just don't. It is very difficult to get the appeal behind it. That's all I'm saying. Of course, like I said, they're not the only shows that are being canned. Of course, like I said before, Supergirl will be ending after its upcoming season 6. Black Lightning will end after its upcoming season 4. And that's the thing about Black Lightning. And this is the thing I want to say really quickly about Black Lightning. I liked Black Lightning, but I didn't like the run of how they did it. Yes, they wanted to make it relatable to today's events. Cool, no problem. But saying Black Lightning wasn't a part of the Arrowverse when you took Arrow, when you took The Flash, when you took DC Legends of Tomorrow, and you basically created this little inverse of all the shows, and it made it great for every show to come off of. And then you do Black Lightning, and then you say, well, it's not a part of the Arrowverse so-called continuum. Why? Because again, I'm sorry, Black Lightning on its own was not strong enough as a standalone show. This has been CW/DC's problem. And I can go into the whole Wonder Woman 84 because by now everybody should have watched it. And don't get me wrong, Wonder Woman 84 is a good movie. I just think that they spent 2 hours and 31 minutes trying to explain a story that could have really been explained in an hour and 30 minutes. You know, I love the whole progression of Maxwell Lord. I love the whole progression of Barbara as she's going into Cheetah. But it just felt like it was a slow burn, and that was the problem. And the whole thing of building up Diana with this whole thing of truth as her weapon, and eventually at the end of it all she flies, which again I'm not knocking it, but the use of the lasso and the use of her, the loss of her powers, where was the sword and shield, the initial thing she had in the first Wonder Woman movie? And I think that's what actually made it go from great to good. And again, it wasn't within the continuum. We keep on seeing these flashbacks of Diana instead of the current age, which again, this has already been addressed by Patty Jenkins, that the third Wonder Woman movie will now be up to date. However, because they always don't do DC movies within a certain continuum, we expect it will still be different. But like I said, Wonder Woman 84 wasn't a bad movie. I just think there were some plot hole issues, and I think the runtime was just a little bit long. That's all I'm saying. Please feel free to tell me differently in the comments how you feel about that. But getting back to Black Lightning seems to have that same issue, and I love the fact of the story and introducing Lightning and Thunder and Tobias and Painkiller, which again they're trying to do a spin-off where they're focused on Painkiller, and I'm just like, I'm concerned. I am highly concerned because again, I'm a story guy. In comics or in anime, I am a story guy. If the story is great, you will always have my attention. It worked well in Naruto. It worked well in Demon Slayer. It worked well in Hunter x Hunter. You can name off the multiple great animes out there. And for a lot of us, besides the action scenes, it was the stories that carried us. So you would think if you're a story-driven person, that it has to have a great story to keep you interested. And I'm sorry, CW, I just think with the Arrowverse, even though you're introducing Superman and Lois, which again seems like it'll be a great one, almost like a spin-off of Superman of Lois and Clark, okay, I can kind of live with that. And I would, still give it its 3 episodes to let me know where it stands. But as far as, the whole thing of Green Arrow and the Canaries not working out, I'm not crying tears about it because I still think it will be a failed show. I'm looking forward to Batwoman, though. The reason why, not because of the casting, because like I said, Batwoman has been given a second chance, which makes me think that, okay, let's give it another 3-episode review and see where it goes from there. And I'm looking forward to Batwoman, at least. But yeah, I'm not crying any tears over Green Arrow and the Canaries and Supergirl ending, and sad that Black Lightning, because I think with different directional debuts and actually putting it within the Arrowverse and allowing Black Lightning to actually interact with different characters from other shows would have made it better, because that's what made Arrowverse work, was actually continuum among all 3 shows. I don't know why that is so hard to fight. But like I said, we're going to keep pushing because I said I really don't have a lot, and I don't want to keep you guys really on the hin here. But another, speaking of Warner Brothers, because they only seem to get animated movies right, they are releasing one very soon, 2 days from now, I believe, January 12th. This one's called Batman Soul of the Dragon, and this is an Elsewhere tale.
Nice pad.
Richard.
You haven't changed at all, Bruce.
You might be surprised.
What was that back there? The mask?
It's a way to keep my lives separate. I can't think of the last time we saw each other.
I bet you can remember the last time. The first time, too.
I'm eager to learn.
They all say that. Ben Turner, Richard Dragon, Shiva. Disciplined, honorable. She's very dedicated. Ben.
Shiva.
I assume you're in some kind of trouble.
The Cobra Cult, a worldwide organization of murderous zealots.
Kill them. We have to stop it, no matter what.
I ain't ever gonna turn down whooping somebody's ass.
No matter how much you train, evil remains.
We're not done yet.
Begin.
Our quarry is a bit more formidable than we thought.
That's handy.
This isn't gonna be easy.
Remember, you are stronger together than apart.
Are we back? Yeah, we back. Okay, so that was Batman Soul of the Dragon. Like I said before, this is an Elseworlds tale. Pretty much, like I said, if you don't know what Elseworlds is DC's answer to Marvel's What If. And Elseworlds is pretty much taking a hero and alternate storyline and just seeing where it goes. In this case, Soul of the Dragon is an excerpt as far as Bruce Wayne being set in the 70s, training under a master sensei with others, fighting a cult, as you can see from the trailer, and going from there with different characters. Looking from the trailer, I'm interested. I really am, just because, well, number one, I don't know what it is about Warner Brothers. It is like, how is it, Warner Brothers, that you can get animated movies right, but you can't get live action movies right? I mean, don't get me wrong, aside from Shazam, aside from Aquaman, and aside from the first Wonder Woman, that's three. So again, it's like, how do you get 3 movies right in real live action? Like I said, we're still expecting an Aquaman sequel, and as well as a Shazam sequel anytime soon. But again, it's like, how do you get, aside from that, live action movies wrong? And and I know fanboys use Zack Snyder. I've had people say, "Well, wait till the Snyder cut. You're gonna be so wrong about this. You're gonna be wrong about this. The Snyder cut's gonna be awesome, and DC's gonna realize they messed up." Okay, I mean, I'm just saying, Zack Snyder directed Man of Steel, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Man of Steel was borderline okay. I mean, it just didn't feel like a Superman movie to me. Same like Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, also directed by Zack Snyder. But you fanboys, go ahead, tell me I'm wrong. You seem to do that. You seem to do that every time these podcasts get posted. So okay, tell me I'm wrong. But again, before we get to the Zack Snyder information that he has, CD Projekt Red did have some new news about Cyberpunk 2077. I know I said this before about Cyberpunk 2077. It's one of the more anticipated games I was waiting for, and like I said, I don't mind waiting for a game, but when it came to consoles, it just was not ready. I mean, it was buggy, it was laggy, it crashed, did it to me several times, to the point to where I just figured, I'm just going to hold off. Now, I didn't do the refund thing, although refunds were open for you to get one, but I decided against it just because I didn't want a refund. I wanted to wait until CD Projekt Red actually went back and updated the game to where it's playable on consoles. But from what I've been told, it's playable on PCs. PCs have no problem playing it. It just seems that the console versions are the unstable ones. But there is some new information that CD Projekt Red put out, because, as you know, they don't actually reach out and comment on stuff. They commented about this one. Now, of course, that came from IGN as far as them reporting that. Like I said before, Cyberpunk 2077 is eventually going to get updates. We know they're going to get updates, massive updates. We don't know when those updates are going to occur. They could be end of January, early February, and that's just an educated guess. But like I said before, it's one of those games that I think I'm going to put back under my second chance gaming, because I'm doing that now with Mass Effect Andromeda. So when those updates do get pushed through for Cyberpunk 2077, I am going to go back and play it again and then be able to give my second chance review about that. Because like I said, I really don't get any bad games from CD Projekt Red, so I'm willing to give it a second chance as long as they were able to fix the games, because, I mean, you paid for it, you may as well enjoy it. So let me get to Zack Snyder, because I know I mentioned Zack Snyder and the fanboys earlier, and the reason why I mentioned this was basically because it has been reported that Zack Snyder has no plans to make more DC movies after the Justice League Snyder Cut. Cool! I am not complaining about that. Because like I said, I still say, and you know, I will stand by this. Even if I meet the man in person, I will still stand by this. You were not the best choice to direct DC movies. You were not the best choice to helm the DC cinematic universe. Only because your vision wasn't good. I'm sorry, it wasn't good. I use the three movies. I use the three movies that he's done previously. I use Man of Steel. I use Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, and I also use Justice League. Now, I understand there's going to be a Snyder cut of Justice League. It'll be released eventually, but again, him saying that he doesn't know if he's actually going to be doing any more DC movies at this point. Let's be really honest. It depends on how received this Justice League movie is actually going to be. Because if it's not received well, then of course he's not going to do any more movies. And then all the fanboys are going to be disappointed, like I'm guessing they will, that you know, even if he went back to do it, even though they brought in Joss Whedon to play janitor to his movie, I mean, like I said before, the movie is just, it's okay to watch. It's entertaining, yes, but again, it's okay to watch. In the same sense, like Suicide Squad, before the James Gunn release. Suicide Squad was, again, entertaining. I love Will Smith as Deadshot. I'm over Margot Robbie as playing Harley Quinn, because I still say there were better choices out there, like Tara Strong, who initially voiced Harley Quinn, and looks exactly like Harley Quinn. So I cannot understand how you have Tara Strong right there to basically act and play as the Harley Quinn we all know and love, but you decided to get Margot Robbie, who in my mind tanked Birds of Prey. I mean, if you feel the same way I feel about it, I still say Margot Robbie was the reason why Suicide Squad, because they focused too much on her, and in Birds of Prey, they of course focused too much on her, because you gotta remember, the initial title of Birds of Prey was Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Again, I'm sorry, it just wasn't entertaining. And you can tell because these things both tanked. So again, I don't get Snyder. Going back to Snyder, like I said, he wasn't the person to helm the DCU. He wasn't. Now, guys, if you're watching this, feel free to comment. I'm just saying he's not. So again, I don't feel bad about him saying that he doesn't have any plans to film more DC movies. Like I said before, it all depends on how the Snyder cut of Justice League is accepted. Do I think it's going to be possible? Like I said, I'll still give it open interpretation. I will still sit there and say, we're just going to see what happens. Because honestly, I just don't see it. But moving right along, guys, as we get to this point in time, someone did point this out to me about Injustice 3. Now, this is from the rumor mill, so please take this with a grain of salt. Someone did ask if Injustice 3 is about to be revealed. And someone did point this out. Because they said between Injustice 3 and Mortal Kombat, they seem to follow this certain type of symmetry. So 2 years ago, in 2019, Northern Realm Studios released Mortal Kombat 11. 2 years before this, in 2017, it released Injustice 2. 2 years before Injustice 2, it released Mortal Kombat X 2015. And 2 years before 2015, in 2003, it released the first Injustice Gods Among Us. So, what someone is pretty much saying right now, in this case, is it possible that we may be seeing Injustice 3 just because it follows the 2-year timeline? Keep in mind, Mortal Kombat 11 was released in 2019. So, because it's 2021, is Injustice 3 down the pike? Now, don't get me wrong about Injustice. Injustice is probably one of the better fighting games outside of NetherRealm Studios has produced outside of Mortal Kombat. Do I think there will be a 3? Possibly. For all those that didn't play Injustice 2 or didn't finish it, depending on who you selected at the end of the game, gave you different endings. Whether you got Superman rebuilding his regime, or Batman sending Superman to the Phantom Zone with the help of his cousin Supergirl. It depends on how you play the game. Now, how does Injustice 3 play out? I don't know. But Injustice has never put out a bad game. Injustice Gods Among Us was great. Injustice 2 was great. I can only imagine Injustice 3 will raise the bar. Now, you guys in the comment field can feel free to tell me what you guys think. I think if Injustice 3 does come out in 2021, I think it'll be great, and I definitely will be looking forward to that. Hey, Simone, how you doing? Just looked up Tara Strong. Yes, please. And I say this with all certain of please, because if you see Tara Strong, the woman who voices Harley Quinn, if you look at her and you imagine her as Harley Quinn, I'm just saying, feel free. I don't want, like I said before, I don't want anybody to think that I'm putting Tara Strong over, really putting her on a pedestal. I'm only pointing out that this woman who voices Harley Quinn can literally play Harley Quinn. She looks exactly how you think Harley Quinn should sound. But again, Hollywood. But anyway, Injustice 3, like I said, it's a rumor mill. There's been no answer from Ed Boon. There's been nothing from NetherRealm Studios about it. But if you follow this rumor of the 2-year rack about it, it's possible. I'll be honest, it's possible. If it is, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I might not pre-order it, but again, I look forward to it. But again, it's possible. So, moving right along, guys. I know I told you about anime. I was watching, like I said, I started this new thing about finding anime out there I did not know about, and I thought was cool. Now, Jujutsu Kaisen, I've been watching that, and I just want to show this one fight scene, because if you watch anime like I do, and this got turned on to me, just watch this one fight scene, and if it doesn't turn you to this, I understand.
ないと。己の快不快のみが生きる指針。天上天下唯我独尊。何が起こったんだ。だがここが瀬戸際。最後の磁力を。最後のチャンス。カウンターはない。確実に攻撃を当てられる。決定権。バイバイ。楽しかったよ。
Okay, so that was actually one of the fight scenes from episode 13 of Jujutsu Kaisen. I actually kind of caught up with it. Now, for all those that are wondering what you just watched, Jujutsu Kaisen is basically about fighting those that are cursed spirits or demons, and the fact that the protagonist himself has a little bit of that ability, hence the kind of the spirit fist that he kind of had there. Think of it like Yu Yu Hakusho, but just Dragon Ball Z put together, if you will. But like I said, I've been watching that. Again, I've been watching that on Crunchyroll. So if you want to give it a shot, you're more than welcome to. I said 3 episodes. I'm dang near caught up with it now. So if you, like I said, definitely check it out. It's actually on Crunchyroll if you have that. I think it's also on Funimation as well. Usually for a lot of anime, I've kind of noticed that sometimes it'll be on Hulu or Netflix, depending on which one you have. But like I said, I actually love it. And at the same time, like I said before, I can't wait till March, because in March, My Hero Academia will be coming back with its new season, and of course, other episodes as well. Now, the last little bit of information I got, guys, it's, well, like I said, I was trying to avoid talking about what happened this week, but, you know, there's just... Unfortunately, what has happened with the Capitol has infected other areas as well, mainly put in the pop culture gaming world, where this person on Twitter said, the seditionist has invaded the Army Capitol Day, wore a Punisher logo. I say at Marvel needs to aggressively enforce their trademark so it isn't printed anywhere, or abandon the Punisher completely. You cannot allow your character to be used by terrorists. And of course, other people, yep, it's time to put an end to that. Only because one of these so-called individuals that were involved in that mess did in fact have a Punisher icon. Now, don't get me wrong, you have seen Punisher put on many of other things out there, clothing, hats, you name it, it's been probably done. And even though some law enforcement have also done this. But again, it's never gotten to the point to where now you see people turning around and sitting there saying, oh, well, maybe Marvel needs to do something about this, because people are really freelancing this. And those folks, I just want to sit there and say, you realize you can print anything you want on a shirt. The only thing you have to do is not sell it. If you don't sell it, no one can come after you. But if you decide one day, hey, I want to put a Punisher icon on my shirt, then you can do so. That's the world we live in, folks. But again, what betwixt my biscuits was the fact that you have people going out there and saying, well, I think Marvel needs to cancel this or do something about it. And these are the same people I sit there and say they have never read a comic book. Because this isn't the first time that people have sat there and said something needs to be done about the Punisher when it was actually done 5 years ago in a comic. This comic in particular that I wanted to point out was actually from Punisher Volume 14 that was actually done 5 years ago, where a couple of cops see the Punisher and say, hey, can we get a picture with you? And the Punisher notices his icon on the police car. And they sat there and say, look, we believe in what you're doing. We believe in what you're doing. We know that you're going to get stuff. We know you're going to get stuff done outside of what we can do. And we're basically following you. We're just basically following you to take back our streets. And they think that's going to flatter the Punisher, when in reality it did not. It actually ticked him off, only because he sat there and said, he sat there and said, I'm going to say this once. You and I, we're not the same. You took an oath to uphold the law. You help people. I gave all that up a long time ago. You don't do what I do. Nobody does. You boys need a role model. His name is Captain America. He'd be happy to have you. And this was pretty much Marvel's response, guys, to what was actually being talked about 5 years ago. Because police and others were using the Marvel icon as a show of support and things of that nature. But again, this was the artists / the story writers pretty much sitting there saying, hey, this is actually what the Punisher would do in that situation with those type of guys. And I always sit there and said, this is the reason why a lot of people really need to look back and see what we consider as comics and things of that nature, because it's our fandom. Fandoms are supposed to be great distractions. They're supposed to be, where we can get away from life and just enjoy ourselves for a little while. And like I said before, after this week, we needed that distraction. But again, guys, this is why I said it goes to the whole situation of them trying to cancel something that doesn't need to be canceled when Marvel's already given their opinion on it. I mean, I don't see nobody going after Lobo. You don't see anybody from DC talking about Lobo. And trust me, Lobo's comics and the stuff he did, and he was a bounty hunter. Again, nobody's complaining about that. But with that being said, guys, that's really all I have for today. For this week, I should say. Like I said, it's been a tumultuous week. I hope that what I've done does give you guys a little bit of a reprieve. Hopefully you can, inspire you to go check out some other video games, some other animes, like I said about Jujutsu Kaisen. And like I said, we just need a distraction right now. So, before I do get out of here, I do want to do some shameless plugging, especially about one guy right now who's watching this, and I certainly appreciate that because he definitely plugs my stuff, and I try to plug his best I can. I am talking about Vaughn, BigVZA on Facebook and all social medias. If you're not his friend, go be his friend because he's friendly-ish. And once you're on his friends list, you'll be able to see his shows that he's done. I'll start with the VSTs, as he calls it, a news podcast. That news could be music, video games, or like I do, or trailers, because he is the king of weird trailers, and sometimes he finds trailers that are very interesting. Aside from that, it's an interactive show because I usually talk to him because I want to let him know what compelled him to show that trailer. But again, interactive show, definitely give that a like, share, and repeat from there. He also has another show called RAF. Now, because it's family friendly, I won't say what RAF stands for, but definitely look it up under his face. What is RAF? It is a pool of entertainment that we sometimes dip our toes into to take a break from life. And trust me, they're all set to a certain theme, and they are meant to be funny. And trust me, they will be funny. Aside from that, he does have another show called the Rhythmness Music Podcast. Now, what is Rhythmness? Basically, Vaughn is a music connoisseur, so as all of our friends are. So we like to get together, and either Vaughn will find music or he'll ask us to bring music, and we'll listen together and pretty much gives our opinions on it. Now, we are all different on the musical scale, but sometimes differences in musical scale leads to great conversation, and that's what the Rhythmness Podcast is all about, especially because it's interactive, which means you can join in as well, and hopefully that you do. And his last show that he calls, I like to call it a pop-up show. Now, why is it a pop-up show? Because my buddy Vaughn likes to make beats and eat popcorns. Observe. And he makes beats that just sound oh so nice, don't you agree? And he also, when the beat is fire, he makes popcorn. You gotta have popcorn, the beat is fire. But anyway, Vaughn is a beat maker. He is definitely talented and likes to show his process from beginning to end because when it's fire, you gotta have that popcorn to go with it. But again, he is a beat maker. Like I said, wants to show the creative process, and that's what Funkin' Around is. And it's a pop-up show. Sometimes he does one every day. Sometimes he does 4 in one day, depending on how he feels. But aside from that, all of his shows can be found on his Facebook page, BigVZA at Facebook. And of course, he will be coming back soon from his hiatus with all new shows very soon. Look him out on social media to know when he'll be doing that. Now, aside from yours truly, I do have a few podcasts of my own. Every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. is the Burned Out Podcast, in which I tell stories from an IT background. Now, if you've worked in customer service, you've worked in retail, you've just worked with the public period in general, that you're going to get exactly where I'm coming from, because I mean this all from the heart. It is meant to be funny. If you find it funny, then I've done my job. If you don't find it funny, then yes, I'm talking about you and you need to lighten up. Of course, from there, on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon is the How the Frack We Got Here podcast, in which I talk about the news and views from the U.S. Political, from all the things we are going through. And trust me, we did cover a lot just yesterday regarding the events of what happened. I'm just going to call it the event because that's exactly what it was. A little bit later on Saturday between 8 and 10 p.m. is the Off Limits Podcast, in which I talk about anything and everything because nothing is truly off limits. And of course, every Sunday is the Git Bit Podcast that you're now seeing here from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. All of my shows can be found under Facebook or YouTube, so you can look them up by their names: The Burned Out Podcast, How the Frack We Got Here, The Off Limits Podcast, and Git Bit, that is GITBIT. Of course, we have to say it's Saturday. The link at the bottom, if you copy and paste that into your browser, will take you to the Git Bit Podcast YouTube page to see every podcast that I've done thus far. Aside from that, guys, the last thing I got to say about this is COVID-19 is still real. Please be safe. Please wear a mask. Please stay home and away from large crowds if you can, as we're trying to be thoughtful of each other. At the same time, thank you, doctors, nurses aides, doctors' aides, those who work in the medical field and hospitals for all that you do, because it is right now an exhausting job, but we thank you for your service. And also you essential workers, those that work in retail, those that work in fast food, those that work in grocery stores, gas stations, truck drivers, those that work in warehouses like Amazon, and those that work in logistics like United States Postal Service, DHL, FedEx, UPS. Thank all of you guys, because I know for a lot of you guys, you don't have the option to work at home, but I'm glad that you guys actually do what you can and not keep yourselves safe, but also keep the lights on for the rest of us. Aside from that, guys, like I said before, I do thank everybody for watching. Hope you all stay safe. Hope you all have a great week, because as we look forward to Monday, because nobody won the Powerball and Mega Millions, so just saying, might want to click. Anyway, aside from that, guys, if you're watching this live, and thank you all who are commenting, and also if you watch this on the playback, feel free to comment this live, because I definitely want to know your opinions on everything I talked about. Aside from that, guys, I am out and trying to get ready for tomorrow. Peace.